Hello beautiful people, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm House of Casey April. Please, if you have not subscribed to my channel, do well to subscribe and turn up your notification bell so that you get notified when I upload a new video. In this video, I will show you how to draft, cut and sew an off-shoulder princess dart bustier. Please, if this is what you're interested in learning, please keep watching and let's get started. The materials I'll be working with is my tape, my marker pen, my ruler, my scissors, my curve rule, my masking tape, my Ankara material, and my cotton lining. I am going to mark my starting line. From here, I will minus 5 inches to get my measurements. You can minus 4 inches, 6 inches. It depends on how high or low you want your off shoulder to be. So from here, I will mark 8.25 for my armhole line, 10 inches for my nipple point, 13 inches for my underbust, and 16 inches for my half length. So to get my neckline, I will minus 1.5 inches from my shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5 inches. And you will minus 1.5 inches from 7.5 inches. And I will have 6 inches. So from here, I will mark 6 inches. I will also mark 6 inches here. The next thing I will do now is to mark my bust span measurement. Your bust span is the difference between your nipple to nipple. The bust span measurement I'm working with is 7 inches. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 inches. So from here, I will mark 3.5 inches. The next thing I will do now is to mark my underbust dart. Because I am working with bust 35, I will be using underbust dart of 1.5 inches. If you are working with from bust 38 to 43, you will use underbust dart of 2 inches. If you are working with bust 44 upwards, you will use underbust dart of 2.5 inches. So I will be working with underbust dart of 1.5 inches. I am going to mark 0.5 inches at this side, and I will mark 1 inch at this side, making it 1.5 inches. The next thing I will do now is to curve my underbust. For me to curve my underbust from here, from this bust point line, I will come down by 1 inch. The reason from this 1 inch is for this place not to be pointy. The next thing to do now is for me to get where my armhole curve will stop. To get where your armhole curve will stop, you will divide your bust measurement by 4. The bust I'm working with is 35. 35 divided by 4 is 8.75. I will mark 8.75. So from here, I will curve to this place. The next thing I will do now is to measure this my armhole curve. Whatever I get, I will divide it by 2. I have 4.5 inches, but I'm not going to divide 4.5 inches by 2. From here, I will come down by 2 inches. So from here, I am going to connect to this line. Please make sure you blend to avoid sharp points. The next thing I will do now is to mark my armhole dart. To get your armhole dart, you will minus half inch from your underbust dart. If you are using an underbust dart of 2 inches, you will minus half inch from 2 inches and you will mark that intake of 1.5 inches as your armhole dart. But I am using underbust dart of 1.5 inches. I will minus half inch from 1.5 inches and I will have 1 inch. So at the armhole here, I am going to mark 1 inch as my dart. And I am going to share the 1 inch into 2. I am going to mark 0.5 inches here and 0.5 inches here. I am going to connect it to this place. Because I will be cutting out this 1 inch I mark for my armhole dart, I will extend this line by 1 inch. I have 1 inch here. I will extend this line by 1 inch. So from here, I will mark 1 inch. I am going to mark this 1 inch here. From here, this 1 inch I mark here. I am going to mark it here to avoid shortage when joining. This will be my new armhole curve. I am not working with this one. This one is my new armhole curve. The next thing to do now is to take my body measurement. I have my bust measurement here already. What I will do is to replace this dart. What I have here is 0.25 and I will replace it here. Please make sure you replace all your darts. The next thing to do now is to mark my half length measurement. The half length I'm working with is 30 inches. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5 inches. And I will replace this 1.5 inches for that. The next thing to do now is to mark my neckline belt. I am going to make use of 1.5 inches for my neckline. You can make use of 1 inch, 2 inch, it depends on how you want your neckline to be. So from here, I will connect to this 1.5 inches. The next thing to do now is to mark your bust dart. Your bust dart is the difference between your front length and your back length. So the difference between my front length and my back length is 1.5 inches. So from this bust point line, I will come down by 1.5 inches. The next thing to do now is to close your bust dart. To close your bust dart, you will open your under bust dart so that you'll be able to close your bust dart. The next thing to do now is to blend this side. As you can see, this side is not straight. I will blend it. Please watch closely on how I am cutting it. I am through with my front pattern. The next thing to do now is to draft my back pattern. And this place is my zipper allowance. I use 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. So from here, this place is my starting line, that is my neckline. I will mark my armhole line. From there, I will mark my bust point. And I will mark my half length, the half length for the back pattern. I am using 14.5 inches for my back half length. To get your back half length, remember the difference between your front length and your back length is 1.5 inches. You will minus 1.5 inches from the 16 inches we use for our front half length, and you will have 14.5 inches. That is how I get this 14.5 inches. So if you minus 5 inches, you will have 14.5 inches. So to get our neckline, I will minus 1.5 inches from my shoulder. The shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches. 15 divided by 2 will give me 7.5 inches, and if I minus 1.5 inches from 7.5 inches, I will have 6 inches. The next thing to do now is to mark my bust span measurement. The bust span I'm working with is 7 inches. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 inches. I will mark 3.5 inches. I will mark my back dart. The dart I'm working with is 1 inch. I will divide the 1 inch by 2. So at this side I will mark 0.5 inch. At the other side I will mark 0.5 inch. The next thing to do now is to mark where our armhole curve will stop. The bust I'm working with is 35. 35 divided by 4 is 8.75. I will mark 8.75. I am not going to add any armhole dart on my back pattern. So from here, come down by 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to connect to the 1.5 inches. The next thing to do now is to take my waist measurement. The waist I'm working with is 30 inches. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5 inches. I am going to mark 7.5 inches here. Plus this 1 inch for that, I will replace it. Remember, I am taking all my measurements from this line. I am going to connect. To tighten my zipper to avoid zipper bulge, I am going to come in from here by 0.75. The next thing to do now is to get my back depth. I am going to come down by 1.5 inches. The next thing to do now is to replace this 0.75 inch I remove from the zipper. I will replace it here to avoid shortage. So our back pattern is ready. This is all for the back pattern. This is my back. And this is my front. My back pattern and my front pattern. As you can see, the side of my back and the side of my front are matching together. The next thing to do now is to transfer this pattern to fabric, but I'm going to stop here now because I don't want this video to be too long. I am going to do the part 2 of this video. In that part 2, I will show you how to transfer your pattern to fabric and how to sew your off shoulder bustier. Thank you so much for watching. Please do well to subscribe and turn up your notification bell so that you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Bye.